Yo, how's it going, Bears fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Bear Down Podcast. I am your host, Chris, joined today by my co-hosts, Parth and Jaylen. How's it going, guys?
What's up?
So, it is Vikings week, arguably the biggest week of the Bears season so far. So we're going to get right into it. Welcome to episode week number 10 of Inside Enemy Territory. Basically, what's going to happen today is we're just basically going to run down our scouting report of the Minnesota Vikings for you guys, share some thoughts about what we think about the Vikings, and share some players on the Vikings to watch for in this upcoming matchup. So let's hop right into it. We're all just going to be talking about, since we don't have a guest, we haven't had a guest since like week 2. I don't even know what happened to that narrative of having a guest happen. But anyways, we're going to talk just about an overview of the Vikings season for a little bit. There's one player I want to talk about in specific before you guys pick it up. I would like to talk for 1 minute about Adam Thielen. 8 games of 100-plus yards for him. He's got the most receiving yards in the NFL right now. I would say he's the hottest receiver in the NFL. He's been incredible this season. And even in the games that he hasn't put up 100 yards in, he's scored touchdowns in. So he's been incredibly effective the entire season. I would say he's been the best player, I would say, out of a Minnesota offense that's been pretty solid. I mean, the transition to Kirk Cousins has been okay, but Thielen's just someone I wanted to talk about. If any of you guys want to take it over and just talk about Minnesota's season so far.
They're currently
5-3-1, right? Yeah, tie with the Packers.
Okay.
Yeah, one thing I would like to talk about, and one thing I would like to ask you guys, I can comment on it myself. Do you guys really think that Kirk Cousins is much of an upgrade from Case Keenum as far as you look at this Vikings offense? And if so, why?
I'd definitely say so because, Case Keenum had his, magical year, you could say. I mean, he's definitely struggling in Denver this year, and Kirk Cousins is, more of a – they don't run the ball as much, but, you see Adam Thielen, Stephon Diggs, even Laquan Treadwell, who struggled the first 3 years, is looking pretty well for them as a solid wide receiver 3. And their offense is much more dynamic, and you can rely on Kirk Cousins to step up when it's needed, you could say.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest Cousins fan personally. I think one thing that I do think about Keenum from this year to last year, I think he was in a much better position last year. You get thrown into Denver, you have a bit of a weird receiving core with Emmanuel Sanders. Obviously, Demaryius Thomas, who just got traded, and then Cortland Sutton, who's a rookie. In Minnesota, you had talent like Kyle Rudolph, talent like Stephon Diggs, talent like, obviously, Adam Thielen, who we've already discussed. And you also have Pat Shurmur. People forget about that. He's now the Giants head coach. Obviously, things aren't going too well for him there. I think they're 2-8. But Pat Shurmur's an incredible offensive coordinator. He schemes things kind of like Matt Nagy does. So I wouldn't say I'm fully on board of the Cousins train, but I guess people could also say they're not fully on board for the Trubisky train either. So that's my thoughts on Kirk Cousins personally. Jaylen, what do you think of Kirk Cousins?
I agree with what you said. I feel like Kirk Cousins is a way better option than Case Keenum. Case Keenum is not really doing the best in Denver. I feel like he was only good last year because of Pat Shurmur, because of the offense he was put in. Yeah. Now, as you see what was doing in Denver, he's not playing as good as he was playing last year. Now, he has his games, like the first 2 games of the season where they started out 2-0. He's playing pretty well, but that started to decline come week 2 in their 3-16. So
I wouldn't call it if I can cut in for a second. I wouldn't call it an incredibly big upgrade from Keenum to Cousins. We'll see how that progresses throughout the second half of the season. But I will say one thing I don't really like about Cousins' deal in general. He has $90 million guaranteed no matter what. All the money is guaranteed. He probably would have been a New York Jet right now had it not been for Minnesota completely guaranteeing the money. Because I think Minnesota was guaranteeing $120 million. But obviously, if I were him, I think he made the right choice. I would want to play for a contender, and he did that in coming to Minnesota. Let's talk about Minnesota's defense for a second. Obviously, Trubisky's first game. Parth probably knows about this game better than all of us because he started his Trubisky fan page when this game started. But Monday Night Football last year, Trubisky's first game against the Vikings defense. And he also played them in Week 17. We always play the Vikings in Week 17. But you just look at all the playmakers on this Minnesota defense. You got guys like Harrison Smith, who obviously he picked off Trubisky to win the game, win Trubisky's first game when he was leading a comeback against the Vikings on Monday Night Football. You got Xavier Rhodes. You got Trey Waynes. You got Anthony Barr. You got Daniil Hunter. They have tons of playmakers on defense. I'm a little bit worried. I think this is definitely Trubisky's best test as far as defense goes. Do you guys think he'll be able to keep it up against this defense?
As long as we spread the ball out. I mean, they made it look easy against Detroit, which is actually ranked the fourth best pass defense. I mean, most of the plays were basically, out routes or in routes, just a little down the field.
Yeah.
Not too, none of them were forced, you could say. And if we keep plugging that into the offense and make it easier for Trubisky, it's just going to make this offense way more dynamic.
I'm gonna say yes, because the last 2 years we've always played the Vikings well at home. The year we went 3-13, we beat them at home, and last year Trubisky's first start, we only lost by
3 points,
7 or
20-17.
Yeah, we only lost by 3 points, and that was because of a rookie mistake. Mitchell has grown so much since week 5 of last season. He became a completely different quarterback. He's one of the most athletic quarterbacks in the league. He's probably one of the best runners other than Cam Newton. He's just incredible. I can't believe the improvements that you made to become a better quarterback.
Yeah, I read today, actually, Trubisky's on pace for 3,500 passing yards, 30 touchdowns, with a 60% completion rate and 600 rushing yards. The only other quarterback ever to do that was Cam Newton in 2015 when he won the MVP, which is pretty incredible that people are calling Trubisky average. I wouldn't say he's incredibly above average. If I had to rank him probably right now, I'd probably rank him somewhere between 12 and 18 as far as quarterbacks in the NFL go, because he's got his flaws as well with some overthrows and stuff. But we're supposed to be talking about Minnesota. Anyways, we're getting off track.
It's just so hard not to talk about our quarterback.
I would say, though, if I'm looking at Minnesota's defense, I would say tough night running the ball, and also tough night passing the ball as far as Allen Robinson goes. He's going to have Xavier Rhodes on him. The hype for this Minnesota defense was pretty high last year. I would say it's gone down a little bit. They've underperformed a bit throughout the season, but it's going to be hard for two guys. I would see Allen Robinson and then Trey Burton. Anthony Barr is one of the most dynamic linebackers in the league, and it might be a little bit tough. Trey Burton, he's obviously quick, but Anthony Barr is actually really quick. So I would say you got to get your balls to guys like Anthony Miller. Taylor Gabriel's got to get involved in this game if we want to exploit this defense.
They also have the leading sack leader in the NFL, Danielle Hunter.
Yep.
I
Totally.
think he's at 11.5 right now.
Yeah.
Which is really impressive.
Yeah. Let's go into who to watch. We're each going to pick one player on the Vikings offense, one player on the Vikings defense that could have a big influence on this game. I'm going to start with you, Jaylen. A player on the Vikings offense who you think could possibly take over this game if he gets going.
Adam Thielen. I knew I'd probably take one of yours, but he had 8 consecutive 100-yard games. He didn't. The only game he didn't have 100-yard game was.
But he had a touchdown in that game against Detroit. He was still effective in that game.
He was going against Darius Slay, one of the best coverage corners in the league, and he completely got shut down other than that touchdown. So, if we find a way to stop him from getting 100 yards, which I think we do, depending on who he goes up against,
Bryce Callahan.
Or Fuller.
He can completely destroy us in the air, and I don't want that.
Yeah, this isn't my matchup, but Nakamura's actually surprised me throughout the season. I'm a little bit worried if he's on Stephon Diggs this week, because I know Diggs is coming off an injury and he's playing, but Diggs is also someone. Sorry if I'm stealing yours, Parth. This isn't even mine, but Diggs is someone I feel like who, if he catches fire, he can also start making a big impact on these games. Parth, who would you say on the Vikings offense as a player to watch for?
I'm going to go with Dalvin Cook. I mean, we've seen Dalvin Cook struggle this whole year. I've had him on fantasy. I was so high on him.
Oof.
And he sucked. And I had to
he
trade
got hurt,
him away.
yeah.
I think last week, against Detroit, he had that nice 70-yard run. So if he gets it going, then Minnesota offense can be very explosive, especially with Kirk Cousins throwing the ball, with Thielen, Diggs, and then if you add someone like Dalvin Cook to the mix, and if we can't stop Dalvin Cook, it'll be a long night for the Bears.
Yeah, I'm going to go simply with Kirk Cousins. Any quarterback, if you don't get pressure to him, he's going to be able to go through his progressions. And I would say the the Vikings wide receivers have an advantage over the Bears cornerbacks in this game. I hate to say it, but I'm saying it. If he's able to go through his progressions and get the ball to guys like Kyle Rudolph, to guys like Adam Thielen, to guys like Stephon Diggs, to guys like Dalvin Cook out of the backfield, to guys like Latavius Murray, to guys like Laquan Treadwell. They got a lot of weapons, and if the pass rush isn't there, this will probably be something I bring up again later in the week. This defense has to step up and give the offense opportunities because I feel like we have a better chance at shutting down Minnesota's offense than Minnesota's defense has at shutting us down if the offense plays well. So just getting the ball back to the offense is going to be huge this week. So obviously disrupting Kirk Cousins is going to be big. Next, we're going to talk about one player to watch for on the defense for the Minnesota Vikings. I'm going to go kind of out of left field here. I'm going to say Trey Waynes. He's someone who has kind of been an under-the-radar corner for a couple of years in his career. I forget where he started his career. It might have been Philadelphia. I'm not sure. Buffalo?
He was drafted by Minnesota.
Was he drafted by Minnesota? Yeah, out of Michigan State. Pretty good corner throughout his career. He's been able to hang around a good bit. He's only gotten better in the last couple of years. So I'm going to say he's kind of an under-the-radar player to watch for Minnesota. When you think of Minnesota, you think there's so many prolific, good defensive players. Trey Waynes really isn't in that conversation, but he's someone I've gained respect for throughout my couple of years watching the Vikings play the Bears. Parth, you want to go next?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Harrison Smith.
Yeah,
I mean, in my opinion, he's been probably the best safety in the NFL for like the last two to 3 years. He's making those big tackles, reading the quarterback's eyes, picks the ball off. He's what you want in a safety, you could say.
Totally.
And
across from him, they also have. I will say, across from him, they also have a pretty good safety. I don't know if you guys know this guy. I think it's Andrew Sendejo.
Yeah, Sendejo.
Yeah, pretty good.
He's awesome
as well. I will say, I think Harrison Smith had the best Pro Football Focus ranking last year, other than Kevin Byard, who was incredible last year. So that's definitely someone to watch out for. Jaylen, who would you say on the Vikings defense is a player to watch out for?
The second person who's leading in sacks, Daniel Hunter. Now, granted, he had his stats boosted when they played the Vikings. He had 3.5 sacks that game. But before that game, he still had 8 sacks, which is pretty good. This with Kyle Long being out, even though our offensive line has played pretty well this season, we're going up against a nice front seven. Considerably, I wouldn't say they're better than the Bears' front seven, but they're right up there with the league.
Totally. Yeah, and you also look at their front seven, and you also realize that Everson Griffin is back. He took a mental lapse or something from the league a couple weeks ago. He was having some mental problems, but he's been back for 3 or 4 weeks. He's also someone who's pretty dangerous. That's definitely someone to watch out for. Our final segment is going to be what we think the Vikings have struggled on. Just things we think that Matt Nagy can scheme against that we'll be able to exploit. I can't really speak on this myself, but if one of you guys want to take it over, if you guys know anything that the Vikings haven't been able to do real well, pitch in.
Can I go right here, Parth?
Yeah, you got it.
Go for it.
I've known this whole season that their offensive line has been struggling. Their offensive line has not been the best. Especially you saw that in the Bills game when they were at home. The Buffalo Bills were having a lot of pressure on Kirk Cousins, and Kirk Cousins were making a lot of mistakes, which allowed the Bills to have great field position and were allowing them to score. Now, we know from a personal experience, the Bills' offense is not that great.
Well, we didn't play Josh Allen. You never know when he's on the field. He could have the game of his life. We see how good of an athlete he can be. You know that arm he has. But, yeah, I get where you're going with that.
But just from them putting pressure on Kirk Cousins was giving them great field position. That's what allowed them to beat them. So if we can put pressure on Kirk Cousins and him make mistakes and give us turnovers, then we can run away with this game because we're much better offense than the Bills are.
Yeah, can I go next? Do you care?
Go for it.
I'm going to go with the ability to close games. I watched one Vikings game this year against Green Bay. It was obviously, you could say it was their kicker, Daniel Carlson, at the time's fault. They have Dan Bailey now. But they had many opportunities to come back in that game, if not win it. And just their ability to produce in the red zone is obviously pretty good. But in the fourth quarter, I mean, the nervous energy, I would say, rises for everyone. So it's similar with the Bears, but they've had a little bit of trouble closing out games. And I think that's something that the Bears might be able to, if they can get a big lead early, Obviously, with the Lions, it got a little bit scary late with that onside kick last week. But I think we can get up in this game. We can't take anything for granted. You got anything, Parth?
Yeah, I'm going to go with their run game. I mean, like I said, Delvin Cook has been out for most of the year. Latavius Murray
is
okay. Like the best out of the backfield. I feel like he's more of a better pass catcher. So, like, stopping the run game, which the Bears have been able to do pretty well this year, is always beneficial to a defense because it makes the quarterback, like, in pressure, you could say, has to throw the ball maybe 40 to 50 times in the game.
Yeah.
And doing that to Kirk Cousins is probably, I mean, like, he's still, like...
It's just a higher chance of turnovers if you make the guy throw the ball more.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, totally.
And he's known for his turnovers. Like, against Buffalo, he had 3 turnovers, which is huge.
Yeah, totally. Getting him out of a groove would definitely be important. But, I think that's pretty much going to do it for this episode. You guys got anything else to say?
It's going to be a big game.
Yeah, totally. So, we are going to have our 3 key 3 key matchups up tomorrow. You guys will be seeing this on Wednesday morning. You can follow all of our fan pages on Instagram. Those are in the description. I'm not Parth. I am Chris. He's Parth. He's Parth on the right of your screen, and Jaylen's on the left of your screen. You can follow the you can follow the podcast social media on Twitter and Instagram at Bear Down. And, that'll pretty much do it for this episode. I like recording with you guys. We've been recording together for a while now, so we're trying to keep that streak up, especially the second half of the season when important games start coming.
Before we close it off, Pro Bowl voting opened up today.
Yep.
Last year we didn't have a Pro Bowl. This year
we're going to be in the Super Bowl this year, so there's no worries. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, seriously, players I could see making the Pro Bowl for the Bears, definitely Tariq Cohen is the return specialist. Go vote for him. Khalil Mack, I honestly think Bryce Callahan can make it, but he's not in the voting because they don't have slot cornerbacks in the voting. Yeah, Kyle Fuller maybe. Tie for the most interceptions.
I think Roquan Smith should make it. He's one of the tackle leaders.
And you could argue if Trubisky keeps playing well, he might be able to make it.
Eddie Jackson.
Eddie Jackson.
Oh, yeah, Eddie Jackson. Amos has not been that great, but yeah, Eddie Jackson. Anyways, I'll put that in the description, the link to the Pro Bowl ballot. Go vote the Bears. You can you can narrow it down to like one team, so every time you go to a category, you can vote your player.
Just vote straight Bears.
Yeah, straight Bears and whoever else is playing well. So, that's pretty much going to do it for this episode. As I said, you can follow all of our social medias. You can find all the information about that in the description. If you did enjoy, don't be afraid to smash a like on this, subscribe, hit the bell to get notifications when we post, because we post every week. We never take weeks off. You guys know that. We definitely totally post every week. But, that's pretty much going to do it for this one, guys. We'll see you in the next episode. Bear Down Chicago. Peace.
Peace.